In this video, I'll show you how to use Facebook's A/B testing functionality because it's incredibly important to do A/B testing and test different variables to improve and optimize your campaigns. Basically, you want to get more of some results, so you're optimizing for that, but you need to be able to track and keep everything in check. Lots of people actually do kind of A/B testing, but it's really a split multivariate test, which is a lot more complicated and it has a lot of more variations. And the problem with that is that you can't keep track of all of it. So what I just said means is that you create one ad and then you create a completely different ad where the headline is different, the image is different, everything is different. So there's too many variables for you to keep track of, and if one performs better than the other, it's difficult for you to tell why that is the case. You may do some analysis, but that would be guesswork, and then you are not certain of what happened. So that's where the actual A/B testing functionality comes in and really helps you out, because it can allow you to keep track of your variables. So let's see what that means. We are over here in Ads Manager, and we are going to create ourselves a new campaign. Now, I obviously want to sell more, so I'll choose conversions. And here at this screen, you will name your campaign. So this will be A/B test. And what you need to do, everything that you pretty much need to do, is to just click Get Started over here. So this will now be your control campaign. And what that means is that the way you set this up will serve as the control campaign for other campaigns to measure against. Now, it's important for you to remember that this functionality only works at the campaign level. And by the end of this video, I'll also show you how to A/B test ad sets and ads, but it's important for you to know that this is measuring campaign against campaign. And it's kind of difficult for you to just change one variable in a campaign and see what gets better results, but you can do that. For example, let's say that you create a conversions campaign with a sales objective or with a purchases objective, or you can create a another campaign that its real goal is to actually sell more, but you select the add to cart objective or a different conversion event. So that could be the variable that you're testing between the two campaigns to see which one will perform better in general. You could also test maybe different ad formats in the two campaigns. You can do A/B testing on the campaign level. It's completely fine. You just need to be aware of the fact that it has its limitations and it's not testing each of the ad sets against each other in each of the ads, right? So in order for you to complete this, you need to go over here and click next, like that's a button over here. You don't need the camera for that. We are going to select purchase as our event, and we are going to say all, and we are going to give it a name and just kind of keep our convention. And the rest, I'm not going to care too much about the rest of the details. You're going to be able to do that yourself. And now we will end up with our ad. We need to create our ad. Basically, you need to give it some details over here, and we need to give it a link. We'll use startupmasters.com domain for this one. It will now automatically create it and populate it with an image that it takes from the website. And our call to action would be shop now. And maybe in the next one we can change the call to action to conduct our A/B test, and then maybe we'll use the learn more. Right, now you actually need to publish this campaign, and you will see now a window will pop up. This will be your test settings. So for your test, you need to decide what variable are you going to test. You can test images, ad text, ages, genders, saved audiences, or select custom. And in this case, you need to select, your ad set as well. And so our variable could be custom, or it could be any of these things. So if in this case, let's say I want to change the call to action, and for that I will just select custom, and we want to duplicate an ad set within this campaign as well, or duplicate the entire campaign. So let's just do the second one. And you can also, by the way, compare this campaign against a campaign B. Let's say, see how that measures up to that one. And this will be the B variant of that campaign. But we want to create an entirely new test, so we'll go with the create a variant option. And you can see now we have our ad set A and our ad set B. And then we can have our naming over here, and we want to also be able to see what will determine the result. And you can add a holdout, but in this case I'm not going to do that. So first of all, you need to decide what do you want to optimize for. In this case, because I selected the purchase as the objective of my campaign, I can select cost per purchase, or you could take a look at the CPM, or cost per 1,000 people reached, which is a bit different than the CPM, and also the cost per click. In case you're interested in traffic, you want to be testing the CPC, but in this case, I just want to test the cost per purchase. And I can also add some additional metrics, which is very cool. And we can go ahead and open up the standard events over here, and maybe add the let's see if it will show up my custom events. It's also showing my custom events, so I will add the cost per registration completed as well in this case. And this is the so-called estimated test power, which is really an estimate. And as far as we know, Facebook are already pretty bad at estimating things, especially when they have to display them to customers. They're pretty good at estimating other stuff, but not the data that we see. And power is the likelihood of detecting a difference in your ads if there is one to detect. And we recommend using a budget, schedule, and key metric that give you a power of at least 80% to improve your chances of a successful test. Now, this is pretty much saying that you have too much stuff to test, but that's just because we don't have too much data in our pixel right now. Because of the custom event that I selected. As you can see, if I remove it or select a different thing, that could change, but in this case it's not going to change because I don't have any or many changes in my ads yet. So I'll go back and select my cost per registration event, and I'm pretty happy with that. And so you can go and duplicate the ad set as well. So we'll publish the draft items, and they are now in review. And as you can see here, we have our campaign, which is A/B test. And in this case, we created 2 A/B tests at the ad set level. Now I can go ahead here and select in my ad, I can select a different call to action. So let's say instead of shop now, I will go with the learn more and publish that. Now you have to be careful with this, because while you're doing this stuff on a live account, and you can only do this on a live account, because you need to actually publish your campaigns for you to enable the A/B testing, you need to be careful not to do any violations of the Facebook ad policies, because then that might kind of get you in trouble. Now, if you go here to the business tools, on the bottom you will see this tab, experiments, and once you open it up, you will be able to see all of your experiments over here. And there is our experiment, and we can open its report to see how it's doing. Obviously there's no results over here, and you can see either cost per purchase or cost per registration completed. You can see the result over time and some test details over here. Now let me show you what happens when you actually create some campaigns. So let's delete this one, and now we're going to do that on the campaign level. So we want to get started with our campaign. We're going to call this the control, and we'll finish all the rest. We just need a link here. And we'll publish it, and then again we'll wait for the testing window to come up. And now we select this campaign, we select the variable that we want to test. Let's say in this case I will test the new image, and then we want to create a new ad. Let's go ahead with the and in this case, actually, I can also say, let's say age and gender, for example, which would say prompt me to create a new ad set, or I can go with a custom. And now I can actually duplicate this campaign. Now, what that would create is a control, is a test between the two campaigns. And in this case, I'm going to be interested in, let's say, the cost per purchases again. Why the estimated power is different when we created two exactly the same campaign is a mystery still, but you need to understand what's going to happen here. So let's close this up for a second and publish it. You can see we have two versions of our campaign. One is control and the other one is control copy, and you can see this campaign is a part of a test. And so now the results, whatever, I can go inside of this campaign, I can create 10 different ad sets, 10 different ads, I can do whatever the hell, and I will actually test which campaign is doing a better job out of the two. Now, that would obviously again pop up here in the experiments. So let's go ahead and see our experiments. That would need a refresh, by the way, and here it is now, and I can edit the experiment as well from here, edit some of the test settings, and go here in the test to take a look at it. Right, so this is how we test different campaigns, and whatever you change is going to be your variables. Now I also want to show you the tests screen. Right here you can actually do 3 types of tests, of which you're actually probably going to only do the A/B tests. Right, so let's get these 2 out of the way and speak about the A/B tests. Right, a holdout would measure the would intend to measure the total conversions caused by your Facebook ads by running them against a so-called holdout group that your ads are not being currently shown to see how good your ads actually are. It is not very good, to be honest. So what you can do is just kind of set up your entire account and run 10% of your advertising to a completely random audience to see what's the difference between running completely random ads and running your campaigns with their current settings, and it's going to kind of tell you how good you are. Spending money for this doesn't really make sense, so I don't use it. Maybe, at least for me, it doesn't make sense. Maybe for some big organizations where a small percentage of change could mean millions and billions of dollars, maybe they can use it, but not for me. Now, the next one is brand surveys. Brand surveys are actually also not very usable for everyone because of this. So this test is available to accounts that have $10,000 spent in the past 90 days. So you need to spend at least like $3,500 per month to be able to do this. And the idea of that is that you can select your page, and once you select your page, let's say I'm an agency, what you can do is run some poll questions and ask your audience specific types of questions. So of course you can choose the language, and let's say, do you recall seeing an ad for Masters Academy online or on a mobile device in the last 2 days? And then they would say yes or no, and then you can add some other questions, like for example, will you recommend Masters Academy to a friend? Yes and no. You know, these kinds of things. And this first one is actually required, and you're of course going to be paying for these just like you would with a normal ad. And you know, you could run tests like, you know, how likely are you to consider Masters Academy, or to buy Masters Academy, or to pay for Masters Academy, whatever. And all of these things, they can be quite useful if you actually want to get some feedback and some more information from your audiences, but you do need to have a large budget to do that. We are not big fans of this either. So let's move on to the actually useful stuff, and that's the A/B tests. Right, so when you do this, first of all, as you can see, this is kind of different from the campaign creation interface, and that's really, really good. I'll tell you why. Because first of all, you can use it to create variants, but that's not the point. You can actually create the variants yourself, and this is what most people are actually used to. We are used to creating different ad sets and different ads ourselves, but we're not used to measuring the differences between them. And so this is where these tests become very cool. So first, well, let's do with the create a variant or compare existing ads. So first of all, you can create a variant for an existing ad. So let's just take a campaign. You can't do this with a CBO campaign, right? So that would be very normal. And let's say that you want to change the ad text. You want to select one of your ads. Let's go with this one, and it's going to take your ad text over here, and you're going to have the opportunity to change it over here to create a variant B of that. You should be careful with the daily budget. The minimum here is 2, so that's what I'm going to put. And you can then select your key metric, which would be in this case my cost per purchase. But I can also add additional metrics, which is very nice, because I also want to be able to measure the adds to cart, and I want to be able to measure my registrations completed, and I want to be able to measure the checkouts initiated. In this case, this kind of represents my customer journey. And let's say I will add one change over here. Let's say we'll remove this digital, and let's say that would be the problem, and we want to test which one is better. And our test is ready to start, and you can see here in 14 hours we'll begin your test. You can come back to start viewing your results and experiments as soon as you do that. And once you create that test, as it says, it takes a while. It does actually take a while. We'll give it a second to create that test and move on. what we can also do is just open the experiments again to show you how to do the rest of the things. So we can go here to test, create our new A/B test, and then first of all you can test between campaign groups, which is kind of testing multiple campaigns together. But I think what you really want to do testing for is campaigns and ad sets, and that's why you can go ahead and compare existing compare existing ads and go and let's say I want to compare two specific ad sets. So let's say I'm gonna go with this Gary V and my wide Canada and Australia ad set. So I want to check, of course these are inactive right now, that's not a big issue, and by the way you can't do that if your ad sets are inactive from the Ads Manager interface, so that's why this is another cool feature of this one. And you can add holdouts to these as well, but you don't want to do that. That's kind of adding a just completely random control group, and you don't want to be doing that. So of course again I want to add my metrics. Of course first is the cost per purchase, and then I will just add the registrations completed, in this case just to make it a two-step customer journey, and go ahead and create that test as well. Make sure you check what happens over here, and that's completely fine. This one has finished, and as you can see we have our new tests over here. Now I can view the report, and of course there's no results yet, but I have version A and version B of the campaigns, and that would do. So let's see what actually this does, and I can do the same for my two ad sets as well. This is very cool because it did not change anything. But if we go back to Ads Manager, we might see slight changes. Let's get rid of this filter, and here it is. Do you see what they did? So they took my campaign, this one that I had before, and turned it into two new campaigns to test the new budget, and then they even scheduled them and made them active. So you should be careful kind of what are the consequences of that. Now I don't want any of these three campaigns in my account right now. I don't actually want to run this test, but you can do it this way as well. Generally most people prefer to do it through this interface, and the only problem with that is that you need to have, let's say if I wanted to run an A/B test on this campaign, it actually needs to be active for me to be able to create this test. And that would be the case for most of your campaigns. You actually want to be comparing active running ads, not some new experiments. So it's not very good for the beginning, but it's still very, very good. And so if this ad was actually running, if this ad set was active, I could create an ad set and do it this way. That's why when we created it through the testing interface, it actually scheduled the campaign ahead so that it can make sure that the ads are checked before that and have been approved, and this ad can actually start running. Right, so this is pretty much how you use the A/B testing functionalities of Facebook. Now, when it comes to A/B testing, I do recommend you get into the habit of doing it. Of course, there's two ways of doing it. Using the functionalities provided by Facebook is definitely one, but you can do it manually. If you do it manually, you have to be religiously strict about your variables, and you need to really go ahead and test one variable at a time, because it's kind of difficult to test them all. Now, another technique that we are also going to study in detail is multivariate testing. So you can test, let's say you want to test 5 images and 5 headlines and 5 call to actions, and you can definitely do that through the ad creation functionality by adding additional variants to your ads, right? So that's not there's more than one way to skin a cat, is what I'm saying here. So let's say I want this ad. I could create, different variants of these options over here at the campaign creation stage. So if now I want to add an additional ad over here, and we want to use the existing ad set, so let's say this one, and we want to name our ad. I could possibly do a variation of the previous ad and change just one thing and compare 2 ads and give them their own separate budget and see the results separately. I could also add multiple options over here and take a look and kind of be testing that way. The general idea behind testing is that you want to test if something is better, and the more important part is you want to be able to understand why is it better, what did you change, and how that made an effect. Because the real benefit of testing actually comes not from the testing itself, the fact that you now know you have a better ad and you can keep running that's the small part. The big part is that if you know why variation B is better than variation A, then you're not going to do the mistakes that you did in variation A anymore, and you can apply your additional knowledge to all the rest of your ads. And this is how incremental learning and testing helps you dramatically improve your campaigns over time. It may look small in the beginning, but if you create a small test with one variable and learn what's better, and then another, and then another, and then another, and with certainty you keep moving forwards and upwards, you will have dramatically different results over time. Especially if you are running a given campaign for a year or 2 years, which is what you really want to do, right? You want your campaigns to be successful, and you want them to run for a long time to make you as much money as possible, or as much of the benefits, conversions, or whatever event you are actually seeking out of your advertising. But the idea is that if you incrementally improve your campaigns over time with testing done in the proper way, so that you can understand what makes the difference and why, you can apply that learning to your further testing, maybe even push it up a little bit, and then with this accumulated knowledge that you acquired, you can improve your results over time exponentially. That's the point of testing, and that's why we're talking about it in the analytics and optimization section of this course. And I'll see you guys in the next video, because that's pretty much everything I have on this.